Welcome back, folks. I am Jon Najarian here at the world famous New York Stock Exchange. Pete will join me shortly and we'll discuss what's going on in the markets today and why the shortfall at AMD wasn't quite the same as the Palantir move and maybe what was behind both. That and more on today's Rebel's Edge.
Here we go.
Well, again, that is Pete over there, folks. I'm here at the New York Stock Exchange. Pete's somewhere in Minnesota. And we are delighted to have you join us here today. The Macro Minute is what we always kick the program off with. And macro, Pete, I'm going to say that Michael Burry tried to bury the market yesterday by releasing almost 2 weeks early his views about what was going on with NVIDIA and Palantir and why he owned so many puts. Well, turns out that Mr. Burry might have been trying to influence the markets, which is perfectly fine. I mean, we can all do that, I guess. And he had large positions, but a lot of that, Pete, the AI sector is so overvalued at 201 PE instead of 200 PE that we all have to hit the exits. That's not really playing out today, is it, Pete?
It's not. It's not at all, John. Hey, I'm gonna call from the macro side of things or whatever the fact that we didn't get any non-farm payrolls today, John. Why is that? Well, the government's shut down. So we did get one thing. We got the ADP, which did rise, and private payrolls added 42,000 in October. That's not so bad when you consider in September it declined by 29,000. So they were looking for 22,000. They actually got 42,000. Some pretty decent numbers actually thrown at the markets. I think that maybe helps a little bit anyway.
Yeah, well, it seems to be helping a little bit, Pete. And on the fantastic futures side, I'm going to throw out palladium because we always talk about palladium on this show.
Yeah, we do.
It's actually up 2% today. The rest of the precious metals are up fractionally. That one's up 2%. So I'll say it's a palladium kind of day, Pete.
I'm going to say this, John. We've watched this happen time and time again, and especially just in the last 5 days or so. 5 days ago, we were sitting there in a volatility index of 16, 17, right? And we were starting to get comfortable a little bit with that again after we'd had a spike earlier in October. But as we get into November a little bit deeper, John, kind of interesting. We've got bounced up to 20 on Tuesday, pulled right back. Bounced up to 20 today, pulled right back. And here we are down about 7% right now on the volatility index. It's trading right around 1750. So almost 8% is the drop that we're seeing. It's very interesting to me that it's having such a difficult time with that sustained move up near or above 20. It just comes right back down. So I wouldn't be shocked to see it finish up the day even a little bit lower if we continue to see what's going on with the NASDAQ starting to get into positive territory in a triple-digit way and seeing the Dow start to move to the upside as well.
Well, Pete, we are lucky enough today to announce some really big news on the small cap spotlight, and it's for our friend Andre Agassi. Now, full disclosure, we own shares. We are paid to help create a little venture evangelism around Agassi Sports Entertainment, ASE. The stock symbol is AASP, folks. And the reason we're highlighting it today is that IBM, Pete, announced today a multi-year collaboration with Andre Agassi to transform the global racket sports landscape through a next generation of artificial intelligence. You guys know it as Watson AI. And they're putting that together with one of the biggest names in racket sports, of course, our friend Andre Agassi. And they're going to help basically use this. They're referring to it as Agassi Intelligence, Pete, to deliver professional grade coaching directly to players' mobile devices. So in other words, you're somebody who really wants to get into padel, pickleball, any of the racket sports that Mr. Agassi is so famous for, perhaps even including tennis. And what that means is a lot to AASP, or Agassi Sports Entertainment, because stock is up 18, almost 20% today, Pete. It's trading right around $6 a share. And full disclosure again, we are part of the venture evangelism for this. We have been paid to be that. And independently, I have also bought shares in this stock. And I couldn't imagine a better guy to have as, I'm not going to say I'm a partner, but as somebody that we are out there promoting. So I think this is a really big deal for Agassi Sports Entertainment. Obviously, I am bullish beyond the price that it's at right now. I have no intention of selling shares. So hopefully I'll be talking to you guys soon about the stock being in double digits. But this is not one of those, oh, John's talking about it, so it must be a pump and dump. No way. We don't do that. We love buying and holding with these great stocks that we think are going to have a long runway in front of them, like this one is going to have. This is one of those bits of information that we knew would be coming, and the fact that IBM itself is offering their IBM Watson AI to really boost the ability of Andre Agassi and his team to push this intelligence out to the community. I think it's a big deal, Pete, and we're pretty enthused about it. And obviously, shareholders are pretty enthused about it because stock is now up, I guess, 20% as I'm speaking to you all right now. Again, the stock symbol is AASP, as in Andre Agassi, but the company is called Agassi Sports Entertainment. And bright future, I believe, and we hope you guys check it out. So, Pete, let's dive right into AMD, shall we?
Let's do it.
AMD traded down in the after hours last night, even after they came out with fantastic numbers. The stock fell all the way down to 235. And we did have unusual option activity in this name. We'll have Jared highlight that for you guys. The unusual activity for this one came in two big chunks, 10,000 contracts each. That's 1 million shares, folks. Somebody wanted puts in a big way, and they wanted them when the stock was 256. Now, had you done what we like to do, which is buying the at the money put or call, in this case, put, you'd profited mightily, because if you take a look at this second slide, the stock fell all the way down to 235. So what were those options worth when the stock traded down to 235? Well, they were 20 bucks in the money in the case of the 255 puts. So bang, that's a pretty big one, Pete. Even though these numbers were great, those were pretty nice moves that we saw.
And when you have those moves, John, you have to take action, and people have to understand that. That's part of the options world that people have to understand is you've got to always be ready. This morning's a great example of that. The stock was down, what, 5%, John, I think, on AMD early on. Well, it's actually gotten into positive territory now, so it has bounced back. Right. Why is that? I think people finally came to their right minds, and they're sort of looking at this thing going, okay, Q3, solid beats top and bottom, or record revenue. And then as far as the guidance for Q4, strong revenue there too, against what people are already, the consensus was looking for. Data centers, AI growth, maintaining the strength that it's had. And that's actually been something that's buoying AMD in a big way. Are they very ultra expensive? No, but they do have a PE that's a little bit loftier than it had been. So you've got that. Year to date, this is a stock that's up 106% year to date. So it has had an incredible run. It had a little bit of a pullback today. That didn't last very long, John. It's kind of like we were talking about with the VIX. The VIX had a hard time staying above 20. Well, AMD, because of that quarter, had a hard time staying down 5% because it didn't last very long. People have to understand with options, you have to be ready to move when the time comes.
Yeah, and we talked about that a little bit yesterday, Pete, with our subscribers and in some of the like 3 at 3 and so forth, that when, for instance, Michael Burry, really smart guy, he bought a bunch of puts for NVIDIA and for Palantir. Well, he faced the same issue. You've got to react when those stocks move, because especially it seems to the downside, you don't get to overstay your welcome. Now, you shouldn't overstay your welcome to the upside either. And we've got an example here of Unity Software, Pete, that popped 18% in the pre-market and then pulled back right now. It's still holding on to about an 8% gain. But this platform for creating and growing games and interactive experiences, they had very good top line, bottom line numbers. But again, you can't just look at the stock and say, oh, I hope it keeps going forever, because nothing does keep going forever. They go up, they pull back, they go up, they pull back, or they drop, they pull back, they drop, they pull back. I mean, again, they don't go straight up or straight down, Pete. That's right. The exception that makes the rule when you see a stock that does that.
Well, and they did deliver, like you said, John. They delivered. They beat what was expected. They also had a pretty strong outlook above the consensus once again. And when you look at the revenue that they're calling for, they're above, pretty decently above on that as well. So the numbers that they put up were great. They were big, as you mentioned, a pop of 17%. You know, there's always that old talk about, you know, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. I mean, this is one of those situations where, you know, how much do you think it's going to go up? I mean, I think that's the read and react that you have to have in the options world. But I will say this is a stock that's been incredible this year. I think this one's up as much as 75% year to date, John. It hit its highs in September. It didn't get that far away from some of those highs just today. But like you said, there is a little bit of room for a pullback because some of those folks are wanting to say, hey, I'm going to take some profits off of this, whether they've held it for the year, the month, or whatever. Even if they did something just yesterday. Yeah, when you've got an 18%, 20% move on a stock and the options are moving substantially with it, you're going to probably want to take some off.
Well, Pete, let's talk about LITE, which is LITE. It was up 10%, then 18%. Now it's up 25%. So what do? They're a telecom equipment maker. What does that mean? Well, when you hear those words, folks, you should think data centers, because the multiples people get for data centers, they get that because they can just explode with demand because of AI. And that's one of the reasons that LITE stock is up so big today. They said their outlook was underscored by strong momentum across data centers, Pete. And I know this is one that you really love and love to see it up almost $50 so far today.
Not a bad run. Pretty damn nice run, actually. Yeah, this thing's on fire. And as you mentioned, it's about the data centers. Their expectations as far as the outlook, John, are for revenue to be up 20%. So they are very, very bullish about what they're doing and how they're doing it. As you mentioned, with the data centers and the data center interconnect and all the rest of it. This is a company that gave us a great quarter. We've been saying this, John, time and time again on how earnings is the thing that can kind of save these markets, or at least buoy these markets when there's a little bit of tough times. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing here. Lumentum is really looking pretty impressive. And across the board, you can't really poke a hole into anything here. I mean, whether it was the quarter that they just put up, the forecast that they put up, they are executing really, really well. And like you said, John, it's for the folks that, if you don't know it, it's about data centers, and the growth is still there.
Well, let's talk a little immunology. Why? Well, because Pete, my younger brother, actually did study this sort of stuff as an undergrad when he wanted to become a doctor. And then the NFL came calling, and 6 or 8 years later, he decided he was a little old to become a first-year med student. At least too old to be a first-year med student.
Yeah.
But when you look at this stock, folks, Biohaven, these guys do a lot with immunology and so forth. And God bless them for doing that. That's God's work, as we would both say. But the FDA issued a complete response letter in response to marketing application for their lead asset. And they basically rejected the drug's approval. That's not a good thing, Pete. And so what's happened? Well, it's traded to the downside pretty hard. It was down as much as 43% today. It's holding on to a loss of, I think, about 37%, Pete. This is just a rejection by the FDA is pretty tough on the shareholders and on the people that really need some of the drugs that they're pursuing.
And we talk about it all the time, John, about how you got to go through phase 1, and then you've got to get up to phase 2, and then you get to phase 3, and then do you get there and get approval? And that's the difficult thing about biotech. It's why they have the kind of moves that they have, because when things go great, yeah, those things can absolutely fly to the upside. When they don't go so great, they look like what this looks like today for Biohaven, which is a really rough day, and it's really too bad. These guys have a pretty decent short positions in here where it's about 7 to 10% or 9 to 10% on the short side of things. The one issue that they've got that might be rough is they've got massive cash burn. I mean, it's huge. So how long can they last? And as you said, John, they're doing basically God's work. I mean, they're just doing an unbelievable job trying to get things to help out folks. They had this opportunity in early 2025. It was February when they got the priority review. Unfortunately for them, the rejection is not something that they were looking forward to at all. They've got deep pipelines, so they've got other things behind it. But this one hurts because this one was getting ready to hopefully get approval, not get approved. And that's a problem, obviously. And they're going to be having to deal with this one. That's why that stock is moving the way it is today. I think what is it, down 40% was maybe even more. But it's unfortunate, but that is the world of biotech. You've got to get over the hump of all of those, phase 1, 2, 3, and then get that approval.
Yep. It's 20% of where it was on the highs, folks, even less than that, I guess, because the high, the 52-week high anyway, was over $54 a share. Today, $8.71. Pretty tough. Yeah. All right, Pete, let's dive into sports. I know you got to take the jet somewhere. I'm not even sure where. I'm thinking it might be down towards South Carolina.
It'll be my second trip to an ACC school, as a matter of fact, in the last few weeks or so. But before that, John, I thought it was one of the most interesting trade deadlines I've seen in the NFL in a really long time. And it's really 3 different teams that stand out. It's the Eagles, it's the Cowboys, and it's the Jets. And what do I mean by that? Well, how about this? The Colts decided that they're going all in. This is a really big trade that you're going to have to look at this and say, wow, these guys have decided that Daniel Jones is going to be the quarterback of the future. Because what did they do? They went out and got a cornerback, big, long, lanky one who's very, very good, Sauce Gardner. And I'll tell you what, John, they gave them the Jets get 2 first-round draft picks. So, and they've done such a good job drafting in the first round. Not really. But anyway, that's going to be a problem because – you know what? They're going to try to rebuild. And the problem is if they start at the wrong end of the rebuilding process, they're going to be just as bad as ever. And by the way, they also had another trade, John, the Dallas Cowboys. Quinnen Williams goes down there. He's a great defensive lineman. The Cowboys decided we need to pump up our defense a little bit. They got that. They also gave the Jets a first rounder and a second rounder. So the Jets are stacking up what is going to be an unbelievable number of picks that they've got. Cowboys also went out and they grabbed Logan Wilson, a linebacker, a really good linebacker. So they're going defense all the way, John. But also, how about what the Eagles are doing? They traded out one of their defensive ends. That wasn't a big deal. Went down to the Dolphins. But they decided they're going to grab Jair Alexander, a cornerback. They also went out and got Michael Carter, another cornerback. So a lot of that is so interesting to me. They got draft pick out of the Jets for the Michael Carter trade. The Jair, they went with the Ravens. That was a 6th round pick. So what am I saying? I'm saying, look, Colts are all in. The Jets are saying, we know that we stink, so we're just going to get as damn many, first round, second round, 5th round, 6th round. They're going to have so many picks, it's going to be scary, John. And then the Cowboys, I think that they're a little bit embarrassed about how they've played to some degree, and they want to boost up that defense. They went for a linebacker. They went for a D lineman. They're doing this and that and the other. It looks like the Cowboys are saying, you know what? We actually still think we've got something here. We just need a little bit more on the defensive side. But I have never seen a deadline look like this one, John. These are all big names that are getting pushed around different places, which is why we're seeing so many draft picks, 1st and 2nd rounders going as well. What do you think of this?
Yeah. Well, I think Sauce Gardner's probably one of the happiest guys in all of football right now, Pete, because the Jets threw in the towel on the year. They basically dealt all these players, and he is one of the best cover players on defense, period. I was looking at stats, Pete. It said that he draws the number one receiver on the teams that he's playing almost 50% of the time. That's pretty big. In other words, they're just saying he's the shutdown guy. He's going to take, whether it's Justin Jefferson or whoever it might be that he's lined up against, he is going to have that guy. And why? Well, because his average separation, Pete, this is according to the NFL, his average separation I saw, 52% of the time he's within 1 yard of the player. So that either means that you're either trying to put that ball in a box like this to get it to the wide receiver, or you are going to get an interception or a knockdown, or thirdly, you're not throwing that way because wherever Sauce is, they're worried that he's going to either pick it off, knock it down, or perhaps the other guy might be open. So this is a true shutdown player. And I think the Colts, this will make a big difference for them, Pete. So can't wait to see him in a Colts uniform. Yeah, well, and the Colts probably aren't going to be drafting a quarterback early on anyway. So that I think they've locked in Daniel Jones. As you love that guy. All right, college football, John. How about this one? I'm going early. It's only Wednesday, but I'm going to go early on this one. What's the best game of the weekend? I think it's really easy. It's number 8 BYU. This is Big 12 football, guys. They're 8-0. And then Texas Tech, 8-1. They're number 9. One of them, particularly Texas Tech, can't really afford to lose a game because, unfortunately for them, they don't. The Big 12 is not looked upon the way the Big 10 and the SEC are looked upon as far as their strength and all the rest of it. They should, in my opinion, but they don't. So it could make it a little bit tougher. But I just thought I'd give you a little bit of a stat or two about what this game really, why it looks the way it does. The Texas Tech team has about an average, by the way, of 500 yards per game on offense and averages 43 points scored. So I would say they've got the offensive side. By the way, they got a great defense too. They play unbelievable defense. BYU, I think the strength that they've got, John, that makes them pretty interesting is they're probably the most balanced team in all of college football. And here's what I mean by that. Their average passing per game, 216 yards. Their average rushing per game, 216 yards. That's a pretty amazing balance to have, that you're exactly equal like that at the run, at the pass. And we've been saying it all year. They're undefeated. They're undefeated. This week again, they're undefeated. Now they're 8-0 undefeated. So I think it's going to be a really interesting game. If BYU comes out on top, BYU is lock, stock, and barrel. These guys have a hell of a nice opportunity, I think, with the playoff. Texas Tech takes this game. Maybe BYU doesn't get in there, but Texas Tech is going to be right there knocking on the door, John. So I think this is probably not only an important game for them, but I think one of the more fun games to watch, I think, this weekend. I think it's going to be great. Well, Pete, and Texas Tech is favored big in this game at Lubbock, Texas. So for all the folks that are huge BYU fans, and I know there are a bunch of them out there, this is going to be an interesting test because you're saying the undefeated team is getting a lot of points against Texas Tech, and the Red Raiders are a pretty damn good football team. I agree with you, Pete. I just looked around at a couple others, Pete. The ones that kind of stood out to me were Indiana at Penn State. Now, Indiana is actually favored by a lot at Penn State. That's how good this Indiana football team is, Pete, because when was the last time teams went into Happy Valley and were favored? Whether it's a whiteout or not, that is a big slap in the face for Penn State and their fans. So do the Indiana Hoosiers, whatever the heck a Hoosier is, do they deserve to be giving double digits on the road? Well, we'll find out Saturday because that game, Pete's an 11 a.m. kickoff. That should be pretty damn interesting. They got a couple injuries at Penn State that I think are part of the problem with the team. They obviously fired the coach who now is at Virginia Tech or whatever. But,
yeah, you start wondering, are the players giving up? Are they giving up on the coach and all the rest of that? I don't think that happens. People say that all the time. I don't think that happens because I can tell you, firsthand as a guy who played on teams where the coach got fired. You're playing football, man. It's your favorite thing in the world to do. It's why you do it. You're having a great time. Your goal is to win and win big if you can and all the rest of that. So I don't know that I think that the guys are not going to be playing at their best or whatever. I think that they will be. But they do have a lot of injuries, so it's going to make it a lot tougher. And I'll tell you what, Indiana, they have not slowed down at all, John. The first quarter, they maybe sometimes come out a little slow, but the next thing you know, they're up by 21 points. Now it's 24-8. Now it's 30. Whatever. They score points. Their offense is great and their defense is damn good. And they've had a couple injuries here and there, but I think they're getting healthier again. So I don't know. Indiana's just an amazing. It ain't a basketball school anymore, John. That's a football school.
Well, we will be back tomorrow, folks, at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I will be on with Charles Payne, Pete, sometime, I don't know when, between 2 and 3 p.m. Eastern time today on the Fox Business Channel. Just want to give another shout out to our friend Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf, because Agassi Sports Entertainment, again, that symbol AASP, they got together with IBM today, and it is big news. It's powering the stock up 20%. And the fact that IBM hangs with somebody like Andre Agassi, and, think of all the great tennis players, great paddle players that they could have picked, Pete. They picked Andre Agassi. And why? Well, maybe a little something like 7 Grand Slams and things like that had something to do with it. Yeah. But Agassi Intelligence, I think this is something that people are going to love. And again, the stock symbol AASP, I own it. And I'm looking forward to more good news from Agassi Sports Entertainment and from all of you. So please tune in for Charles Payne and his show, Making Money with Charles Payne, approximately 2 p.m. Eastern time today. And Pete and I will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. See you then.